Hey, welcome back. All right. Today we're going to talk about the truth about paying off your house early. Wow, this always creates so much controversy. Listen, what I want you to do is we're going to talk about the four common misconceptions every homeowner should know. But what I want you to do right now is I want you to go over here and put in a comment like, where are you watching this video from, and what's your immediate thoughts when you see this? Okay, because this is gonna twist some of your brains, and the talking heads out there are gonna go sideways. The Dave Ramseys of the world, the Susie Ormans are gonna just go nuts when I start talking about this. But folks, people lie. Mathematics doesn't. And the reality of the matter is many people don't lie purposely. They lie from lack of knowledge, okay? And that lack of knowledge boils down to they're just sitting here working with old ways of thinking in a new world. So let's talk about these different common misconceptions. Well, the first one, that right out the door here, you've got to understand is something called opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is the bottom line is that if you had this money, okay, over here that you used to buy a car or buy a house or whatever the case may be, and you had invested that money, opportunity cost is the money you would have made on that money. Because see, once you spend a dollar, you're never going to make any money on it going forward. But if you invest that dollar, the money you make on it going forward is the opportunity cost you would have had you not spent the dollar. So it's a very, very important concept to understand when we're talking about whether or not you should pay off your house. Now, the first misconception is being debt free is always best. You should be debt free as fast as possible. Okay, well, here's the deal. You should pay off your house as fast as you possibly can. You should just always have the largest possible mortgage right up until the day you die. Because you see, there's good debt and there's bad debt. And this is where you're freaking out. You're going, oh my God, there's no such thing as good debt. Well, the reality is there is, all right? And if you understand how to leverage your money and you understand how to do that safely, it's a pretty incredible concept. So the bottom line is emotionally it feels great, but financially, it's just not always optimal. Every dollar in your home earns zero. So let's get that clear, all right? I've got a house here. This house is worth $500,000 and it has a $500,000 mortgage. And please don't argue with me about not being able to get a 100% mortgage on your house. We're talking about concepts here, okay? So if I had a house with a $500,000 mortgage on it, would this house go up or down in value any faster if I paid it off? And the answer to that is no. That house will go up or down in value regardless of whether it's paid off or it's 100% mortgaged. Therefore, equity in your house has a 0% rate of return. Zero. So if it has a 0% rate of return, what is equity actually doing? And the answer is it's losing money. And it's losing money based on opportunity cost. If I had that money, I could have invested it somewhere else. I could have put it to work for me. Now, liquidity and leverage often matter more than bragging rights. I have my house paid off. Well, maybe not so good. So let's talk a little bit about appreciation, okay, and how appreciation works. So let's say my house here is worth $500,000 and I have a $500,000 mortgage on it. And my appreciation is 4%, but inflation rate is 3%. Now, the equity in my house is $200,000 because the difference between $500,000 and $300,000 is equity. If I had that equity, it would be $82,397 worth of purchasing value in 30 years based on inflation. But the market value of my house will be $1,621,699. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, equity has a 0% rate of return. So that house would still be worth $1,621,699 whether it had equity in it or not. Misconception number 2, you save a ton of interest. Well, that's true. As a matter of fact, you pay most interest on your loan in the first 10 years of your loan. It's not until 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years down the road before half of what you're paying in is actually going towards principal. Most of it's going out towards interest. So the bank's making money. That's okay. So if your mortgage rate is 3 to 5%, and today it's like 6%, and you're making 6 to 8% somewhere else, you're actually losing opportunity cost. You could have been making that arbitrage on those two numbers. Now, would it surprise you to know that if you borrowed at 6 and you made 6, you would come out ahead? Would it surprise you to know that if you borrowed at 6 and you made 4, you would come out ahead? And you'd say that's absolutely impossible. But see, the problem is you're only thinking here. You're not thinking in the 30-year cycle. And in that 30-year cycle that you're paying that mortgage, you're paying 6 on a declining balance, and you're making 4 on a compounding balance. So over time, that money is going to outperform what's going on there. So compound growth can outperform interest saved from early payoff. Now, that being said, we're going to go out here, and you need to understand that one of the largest wealth transfers that happens is how people pay for their house. The potential for major wealth transfers are huge, and tax savings and all of these other things that happen inside of here. So let's follow some information here with regards to a mortgage. So let's say I have a $300,000 mortgage and it's a 6% interest rate. All right, well, if I have a $300,000 mortgage with a 6% interest rate and a 30-year loan, and by the way, I want to remind you that it was just a few short months ago that you had mortgage rates of 2.5, 2.25, 1.75, 3, 3.5, and now those mortgage rates are running around the 6s. And right now today, they're talking about lowering those interest rates going forward. So if I have a 30-year loan at $300,000 with a 6% interest on it, my interest that I'm going to pay over that 30 years is going to be $347,515. So yes, I'm going to pay twice as much for that house. But had I taken that money and I went out and I invested that money out over that $300,000, let's say I was going to pay cash for the house. I could walk out, pay $300,000 cash for the house, but instead of paying $300,000 cash for the house, I invested the money, okay? And I invested it at 6% and I took out that mortgage. That 6% over 30 years is $1,806,773. So it would appear to me that if I could take out a 6% mortgage at a 6% gain on the same amount of money, I made a $1.5 million mistake over that 30-year period of time. Let that sink in for just a second. When you're sitting there celebrating the fact that you paid off your mortgage, think about how much money you're losing. And the answer is you're losing approximately $500,000 for every $100,000 that's wrapped up in the wall of your house. And there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to that, because see, the other fear or the other misconception that people have is that they think that their money is safe invested in their house. Well, home values fluctuate with the market and it's not guaranteed liquid. Now you'd say, well, the market's been going up, and if you're in your early 20s or 30s or even your 40s, you probably think that's true. But if you're like me and you're in your 60s and you've watched how many times the market's gone down over your lifetime in the housing market, it always comes back. But how many times it's gone down, you have a different perspective, okay? Now, here's the interesting part. If you ever need cash, the only way to access that cash, again, is to borrow or to sell. And equity doesn't pay you income or compound. Now, you have these IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, so on and so forth, and we call those qualified accounts. Well, qualified with who? They're qualified with the government. Well, here's the interesting part. When you put the money inside your house, you have another qualified account. So you have to get qualified to get the money out of the house. Do they have to loan it to you? Absolutely not. Do they get to say what rate they're going to charge you? Yep. Okay. And by the way, if you have a mortgage on your house and you can't make the mortgage payments, what happens? They take your house and all the other equity inside of it. Kind of a problem, don't you think? It reduces my risk in retirement. A paid off house does not eliminate financial risk. It just concentrates wealth in one asset. Little piece of news for you. It costs money to live indoors. Now, whether you have a mortgage payment, whether you have a rent payment, or whether you're losing opportunity cost, it's costing you money. And the opportunity cost is much higher than a mortgage payment over that period of time. As a matter of fact, a mortgage payment today of $2,000, by the time you get 15, 20, 30 years down the road, doesn't feel like much. It feels like a $1,000 payment based on inflation. Keeping a lower rate mortgage while building tax-free or compounding an asset can be a smarter, safer, and a better long-term strategy. And being able to have the flexibility to access that money during tough times by having it outside of your house over in a tax-free environment that you can access anytime is much stronger than having it wrapped up inside of your house. So let's take a look at this, all right? How do people traditionally buy a house? Well, the way they traditionally buy a house is they go out here, and the first thing that they do is they save up for a down payment. So they save, and then they go find this house that they want to buy, and then they put down a down payment, and they drain that tank, and they put it over here, and they buy the house. Now, once they do that, the first thing they do is they get a mortgage, and they secure that house as the collateral against that mortgage. And then they slowly pay that mortgage down over time. Now, the equity inside of this house is only available upon sale or qualification. Now, what does qualification mean? Well, that means that if I want more equity out of that house, I've got to go convince the bank that they should loan me the money. Now, should I not have a job? Should my loan to value not work out? They don't have to loan me anything. So we can do what's called self-financing. So we go out here, we build up this account, we save. And then once we're done saving, we go find the house we want and we pay cash for it. And we drain it all out right there. Now, in both of these cases, we're losing access to that cash. We're losing access to all of the cash when we're doing the full amount in there, and we're losing the opportunity cost, and we're losing access to the cash when we make the down payment. Equity, once again, is only available upon sale or qualification. Now, does a bank have to loan you money? And the answer is no. As a matter of fact, when does a bank loan you money? And the answer is when you don't need it. And you'll say, well, no, I need the money. Well, they don't care if you need the money. They care whether you can pay the money back or not to make sure that you are qualified. So here's some things to consider. If savings and mortgage rates are equal, the cost will be the same. Interesting thought. There are two ways to have a paid off house. So if I have a house over here that's worth $500,000 with a $500,000 mortgage on it, and I have $500,000 in my bank account, I can pay off my house anytime I want. I can simply move it from here to there. So in this picture that you see right here, we could take this money that's sitting in our account over here, and we can move it right over here and pay it off. Now, one of the most interesting things about this is frequently I sit with people and I'm looking at their finances. They're telling me they're making extra principal payments to pay off their house, and they're doing everything they can. They want to pay off their house as fast as possible so that they can feel safe and they don't have to pay any interest, so on and so forth. Yet they're sitting here with enough money right here to pay off their house. And I say, well, why don't you just take that money, put it over, and pay off your house? And every single time they say, well, I don't want to do that because I lose control of my money. What's the difference? What's the difference between sending extra principal payments towards your house and just taking and draining the tank and paying off your house? I mean, really, when it gets right down to it, what's the difference? So would you go drain the tank to pay off your house? And if you wouldn't do that, then why are you in such a rush to pay off your house? Isn't it better to have that money over there where you can access it any time? A mortgage allows you to maintain control of your money, maintaining that money over in that account, so should stuff happens, you can actually get at it. You know, things like COVID, 911, so on and so forth. And remember, accessibility to equity requires qualification. So if you want that money, you've got to go qualify for it. And do you think there might come a time somewhere down the road where you might actually need that money, whether you're employed, not employed, and or retired? So let's talk about the key takeaways here. Paying off your house feels really good, okay? But it's not always the smartest move. You want to stay liquid, you want to grow your wealth, and you want to use your mortgage strategically to build long-term financial freedom. Now, whether or not you believe me or not, I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on that subject. So put some comments down here. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Whatever words that you want to put in here. But if you're going to take the time to put those comments, tell us why you believe that. What is it about that you are convinced? Now, I want to leave you with a little story, okay? And the story goes like this. This woman, she's cooking Thanksgiving dinner for her family. And her daughter comes up to her and says, "Mom, how come you always cut the ends off the ham before you cook it?" She says, "Honey, I have absolutely no idea why I do that. My mom's always done that, so that's always what I did." So she calls up her mom and she says, "Mom, how come you always cut the ends off the ham before you cook it?" She says, "Well, honey, I don't know about you, but I do it because my pan's too short." Now, hopefully you got that. And what happens is people do things based on old information in a new world. So put some comments down here, like this, share it, subscribe to our channel down below. And remember to live like you're going to die tomorrow and plan like you're going to live forever, because you just might. Keep smiling, and I look forward to meeting you again in the very near future.